Okay, awesome. Welcome everybody to today's Parenting Academy Q&A session. Today we're going to talk about a topic that is prevalent as summer is approaching us. We're going to talk about how to have a smooth and successful summer with your child with developmental disabilities. What we'll be covering is how to reduce the stress and actually create fun in a structured summer for your child with developmental disabilities. A lot of the times when summer hits, a lot of parents ask me, like, what am I going to do this summer without school? Like, how is Johnny going to do without the structure? They usually get nervous about the lack of structure, what that means for them throughout that summer. So, today, we're going to walk through how to create a summer routine that actually works for your family in a way that your child continues to make progress and it doesn't left them or you feeling overwhelmed by the lack of that structure from school and other routines that are embedded in that time. The first thing I'll say about this is that many families believe that summer is for kind of like rest and downtime, and that structure or therapy can kind of just take a back seat just because of the nature of summer, right? We're supposed to wake up later, go to bed later. So many families just want to go with the flow and figure out as they go. But it's very important to understand that for children, especially those with developmental disabilities, too much unstructured time can lead to regression and frustration. Unpredictability usually creates anxiety and more meltdowns, more behaviors, especially in unexpected times. So, really, a little bit of planning now can create a lot more rest for everybody, and it can make things go smoother while also making the transition back into fall and back into school a lot easier than if you just went with the flow. So let's dive into the three most important areas or things to focus on to set your summer up for success. The first one is make sure that you establish structure and routines for summer. Second one is continuing therapy or skill building. And the third one is planning ahead for common stressors like vacations and downtime. We're going to go into each one of them. So, the first one again, establish structure and routine for summer because the loss of structure can increase anxiety and therefore it can increase behaviors. Children with developmental disabilities do best when things stay the same. They feel safe when they know what's going to happen next. So when routines stop, like not going to school, changing who picks them up, who drops them off, or what their day looks like, it can actually feel scary to their bodies. They lose that sense of predictability that they crave. They might also feel confused, worried, or out of control. So that structure helps them feel calm, it helps them feel safe and really ready to continue learning and doing what they were doing while they were at school. So that's why it's so important to keep that routine. Now, I'm not saying to keep the same routine that at school of like wake up at 6 a.m. and like rush through the door. I'm just suggesting to create a routine for summer. Don't let it be chaotic, as in like we don't know what's happening. We take it day by day because that unpredictability creates that anxiety and more behaviors. What this may look like for you is, for example, your child waking up late, going to bed really late, starting to skip meals because their sleep is thrown off, not wanting to eat when they usually eat, being hungry, so they're irritable, then getting so tired and they get take a random nap, or they get easily frustrated with small changes. Those are signals that your child is out of routine. And so creating a little bit of that routine would be super beneficial. A strategy that you can use for this is to create a simple visual or written schedule, even if just it's simple and it outlines like wake up times, meals, one activity, and bedtime. You can review it each morning, review with your child together so your child knows what to expect for that day. You can include consistent routines like morning routine and nighttime routine so that at least each day something remains consistent. Even if the activities throughout the day change, at least you have a morning routine where we wake up, eat breakfast, brush our teeth, get ready, and a nighttime routine where we take a bath, read a book, put pajamas on, go to bed. Whatever that is for you, it can be super simple. Make sure that you keep it consistent across the week. Now, the second one is to continue therapy or skill building, because without continuing to practice the skills that we learn in the school year, progress may stop or regress. That is because learning doesn't just happen at school or during therapy. Kids are learning everywhere, at home, at the park, on a trip, wherever you're at. Summer is a really good time to practice what they have learned in new places. Now, it's important here to keep in mind that if no one is helping them or they don't have the guidance that they are used to, they may lose momentum and they actually may forget some of the things that they have worked so hard to learn throughout the school year. But with the right support, with summer, can just actually get them ready for the next level when they go back to school or when they go back to our therapeutic environments. So for you, this may look like your child engaging in behaviors that they did in the past. For example, a child who learned to ask for help during therapy starts screaming again when they need help instead of using that communication to get what they need. Or previously, they were able to visit new places with no challenges, and now they're refusing to go to the new neighborhood place. All of those are indicators that some of those skills are stopping to progress or are regressing for your child. A strategy for you for this during summer is to build in those practice times into your summer routine, whether it is reading, social skills, visual supports, practice sessions of like just simple role play scenarios. It doesn't have to be extremely structured, just friendly reminders built into the routine of what skills your child is working on, and we need to continue to practice. You can make it fun by turning it into a game or using their interests as motivation. Make sure that you ask your behavior expert to help you identify one or two things that you can focus on to build on during summer. The third one is planning ahead for common stressors like vacations or downtime, because events like this, like vacations, outings, or downtime, can actually trigger stress if they are not planned for. So, new places or sudden changes can be really hard for some kids. Even getting bored can make things tough because they'll start getting into more trouble. So, kids who have a strong desire or need for things to stay the same, or who have strong feelings about sounds, lights, or sensory overload, they might feel overwhelmed. If we don't help them feel ready, fun plans like a party or a beach day can actually end in a very severe meltdown or a stressful time for everybody. So just remember that a little bit of planning can make a big difference. For you, what this may look like is that you're planning something that you think will be fun and it turns in absolute chaos. For example, you plan a beach day and but your child screams when it's time to get out of the car, screams when it's time to take their shoes off and touching the sound, or the trip takes longer than expected. You go to a fun place like SeaWorld or an amusement park and they don't want to participate in any of the activities, they want to turn around and go home. All of those are indicators that maybe just a little bit of planning for those big fun events would be beneficial for you. A strategy for this is to prepare your child by reviewing the plans ahead of time. Show them pictures, use social stories, let them know what to expect in that beach day. Let them know what to expect in that amusement park. You can keep the routines as consistent as possible during your trips by keeping meal times at the same time, snack time at the same time, and just give them what to expect ahead of time. Now, just to keep in mind, some of the top mistakes to avoid when trying to create a good summer routine is not having a consistent daily rhythm. Like I mentioned, it does not mean that it has to be the same at school. It just means that our routine for this particular summertime would be beneficial to increase that predictability. Letting every day be totally different leaves your child feeling disoriented, which can create more behaviors challenges during that time. So instead, pick two or three things that you're going to do consistently each day and let your child know about them. The second common mistake is to skip therapy or the structure learning altogether. Um, Kind of like that idea of like, well, we're summer, it's fun time, let's get back to it in the fall. It's tempting to take a full break, but this actually leads to skills being lost and it makes the transition back into the fall a lot harder. So, just keep your therapy hours steady and increase if your schedule allows, and continue to work at home on those things that you know your child is working towards. And then the last one is not preparing your child for trips or new routines or events. Again, like I mentioned, vacations. Being spontaneous is fun for most of us, but it can feel very scary or overwhelming to your child. So make sure that instead, you let them know what to expect, you prepare them and show them in advance what to do, show them pictures, and keep the certain parts of the routine the same while traveling or when your plans really change altogether. Um, and this sums it up. I will open up the floor for questions.
Yeah. So we have a question that came in saying that I guess mom's asking that her daughter is non-speaking and gets frustrated when we change plans. Are there any specific strategies that you recommend to help, you know, help with that challenge?
Definitely. So, as simple like visual schedule or written, like it doesn't have to be fancy. You can just literally in a piece of paper, write it out or draw it out for your child and put pictures or words that would be meaningful to her or him. And make sure that they understand and that you go through them every morning or every day. Like, first, we're gonna eat breakfast, then go to the beach, then whatever that is, so that they understand and they have some type of expected change. Just because they're non speaking or they don't fully communicate with you does not mean that they cannot understand when you give them that advance notice. So, advance notice is my biggest recommendation for this scenario.
Gotcha. Let me see. This parent's asking about if you have a structure that you recommend parents kind of create for that routine. Um, she's talking about how her child's enrolled in summer camp, but that's gonna be ending here in a bit. So she's not too certain on like what that structure should look like.
Yeah, I recommend a very simple structure. If you can keep morning routine, lunch, and nighttime routine steady, consistent across days, and then fill in the gaps with whatever activities, then that'll be perfect. So you have morning routine, morning activity, lunch, evening routine and then or activity evening activity and then nighttime routine, then that is exactly what I would recommend. Just five simple steps. The activities, the morning activity and the evening activity, can change on a daily basis, right? One day you can go to the beach, another day you can go to the park, but if you keep that same structure across days, that's what I would recommend.
We have another parent asking about prepping their child for group events. She's saying
Mhm.
that we've tried summer camps, but my child gets very overwhelmed, and the camp ends up calling us to take her home. Um, how can I set her up for success in those new group environments or in other camps?
That is a really great question. I would actually, if she or he has demonstrated challenges in group activities, it may just mean that that group activity or that group environment is not ideal for them. What that means is that it would be beneficial to look for another environment where they have smaller group instruction. Another type of camp event, there is a ton out there that you can look for specific staff to child ratio to make sure that that child is in a environment that is more optimal for them. This will make it a lot less likely that they will call you, and a lot more likely that your child will be able to learn the skills and practice their skills to be in those group environments in a way that doesn't push them over the edge. Now, if you already are in it and you want some strategies for how to make them successful in those group environments, just keep in mind that if the environment is not ideal for them, it's going to be very hard to be able to teach them in such a short period of time how to be successful in those group environments. But the things that you can do is prep them, let them know what is going to happen, what to expect, who they're going to see, what their expectations are, how are they to behave, and then try to use stories. There is a lot of YouTube stories if you just look up kids in summer camp. Show your child a video and tell them like this is what it looks like. This is what you can expect, and that should decrease that like anxiety or emotional dysregulation for your child to hopefully make them so more successful in those group environments.
Yeah, so we have another one. This one's kind of long, so I'll kind of try to summarize it a little bit. It's a mom. She mentioned that she recently just quit her job. Her daughter has ASD, and she's currently enrolled in dance class, or yeah, dance class. And for her daughter, I guess in dance class, she always gets called out, and she quit her job so she can help her daughter, acclimate to school setting and group environments. I guess the question that she has here is that she quit her job so she can start teaching her the skills to be prepared for school when she goes back in the fall time. Is there any things that you recommend that she could think about to help her with that?
Yeah, definitely. This is a great question. And especially um, if you are like, if as a parent, you had to quit your job to really spend all the time with your child and set them up for the most success, I definitely would recommend that you start teaching them at home. The majority of the behavior challenges that occur outside of the home is because we don't have foundational skills already built into the home. So what I would recommend is that you start building on foundational skills that are needed for those group instructions, whether it be school, it be dance class, gymnastic class, karate, whatever it is. What those foundational skills are is basically your child's ability to follow instructions. In order for your child to follow instructions, they need to be able to respond to their name, to follow simple one-step instructions when you tell them, come here, throw the trash away, put your plate away, pick up your toys, all of those. That I would focus at home on those two things, making sure that when you call your child's name, they respond, and also that when you give them an instruction, they follow through that instruction. And it can just be embedded in your day to day, right? Like they finish their snack and they need to put their trash away. Just those two things will make it significantly more likely that your child will be able to participate in group instructions.
We have another one. It's from a mom saying that ever since they've started summertime, her daughter has had very a very hard time with separating from the mother. She wanted to reach out to see if you had any suggestions for a child that's like really attached. She mentioned in the question that she basically has to sneak out of the house whenever she goes somewhere. The dad's typically the one that watches, but she, she's starting. It's getting to the point now where her and her daughter have to sleep together because of the separation anxiety.
Oh man, it sounds like a tough situation for sure. The first thing that I would look at is if this behavior of like not being able to separate from somebody is just happening with that person. I believe you said his mom, is just happening with mom and no one else. If it's only happening with mom and no one else, I would start looking at why, basically understanding why that is happening in the first place. Like, why does this child have this relationship with mom where she feels that extreme anxiety when she separates from her? There might be something that was learned along the way for the child, specifically with mom, that needs to kind of be unlearned in order for that behavior to stop or decrease with mom. And then the second thing that I would do would be to start in small increments. So, for example, if your child does not tolerate you leaving the room for however many seconds, right? Maybe start at 1 second, leave the room and come back, leave the room and come back just before they start the behavior of whatever that may look like for your child, whether it's screaming, yelling your name, throwing themselves to the ground. Before they do it, go out of sight and come back. And slowly, what we can do is increase that amount of time that you're able to be out of sight from your child to get basically to the place where we want to be. So, essentially, two steps for you. Number one, really identify why this is happening in the first place. Observe, understand who does it happen with, what times, what places, and then start small in small increments going out of sight from your child.
Great. We have another one. This one was saying that they have a son who is significantly impacted. He's got autism and some other developmental disabilities. And during the summertime, they often will have events at home or like will go on vacation places. And they've noticed that after those events, since it disrupts his routine, they have a really hard time with his behaviors. He gets really aggressive. He's not able to communicate, so they don't really know why he's upset. But they just think it's due to like impacting or deviating from his routine. They wanted to reach out to see if you had any suggestions on how they can reduce the meltdowns from breaking that routine.
Yeah, for sure. That is a great question. It is more than likely due to the disruptions in routine. I would still encourage some type of like observation, like make sure that you um, write down like when those things happen, when do they happen, what happened before, what happened after, what is the environment, is it at the beach, is it a vacation, what type of routine disruption is happening, because a lot of the times it's easy for us to see on the surface level that clearly there was a disruption in routine. So it's easy for us to say, well, it was a routine disruption, but what about that routine disruption made it so hard for your child to come back into routine that they're engaging in these behaviors, right? Is it the environment? Is it the people? Is it the type of disruption? So, step one, I would definitely recommend a little bit more observation. Just note it down, what happened, so that you can get a clearer picture of what about the routine disruption really disrupts your child, so that you can implement ahead of time, right? If it's loud noises, then you can bring noise canceling headphones. Is it the fact that we spend 14 hours at the beach and that is too exhausting for them? Then we can break that up or provide them with breaks. So, again, observe and get a little bit clearer on what about those disruptions are really disruptive to your child. And the second portion is to give them a heads up, really give them a heads up. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, just because they don't have the communication to communicate fully in sentences, but that does not mean that they don't understand. So we are able to teach them and prepare them for what is coming. So let them know ahead of time. And then when you come back from whatever routine disruption, vacation, um, whatever it is, make sure that you provide your child with the supports that they need to decrease those challenging behaviors. It is likely that at that time they're very dysregulated. So you want to focus on regulation of the body, improving or incrementing that routine, make sure that you keep steady, and focus on creating that routine for them as soon as possible.
Okay, here's I think we got one more, and then that's it. We can wrap up because I know we're coming on time. It's kind of similar to the one that I talked about in the last question. Um, Basically, the mom's asking that her son, since the summertime, he really enjoyed school, but he's having a hard time now that he doesn't get to go to school. So he's very rigid with his routines,
Oh.
and they're not sure. He always has meltdowns in the morning when he realizes he's no longer able to go to school. So they're having a hard time shifting him into that new routine. Um, do you have any, uh, you know, suggestions regarding easing him out of that routine into a new one?
That's such a bummer. I can only imagine that kiddo being like, "Oh, I want to go to school." But yes, what I would recommend would be to simulate the school environment as much as possible. I know that obviously you're not going to be able to replicate it because there's probably teachers and friends and things that he wants to do that don't look the same at your house. But what you can do is really just try to do it as much as possible. So, for example, if they wake up and you can give them some type of structure routine where they sit at a desk and they do coloring or like whatever structure activity that you would like them to do, um, maybe provide them with opportunities to interact. If it's like the social aspect of like I want to see my friends, maybe provide them opportunities by taking them to the park. Like really identify what about school are they missing. Is it the work, the activities, the teachers, the people, the kids? And then try to provide that same what we call reinforcer, what he wants, in a different way. And then let him know like, hey buddy, you know, your friends at school are not available, but we can go to the park instead and you'll be able to meet new friends. Like, really make it exciting part of their day and remind them that in a couple months they're gonna go right back and see all their friends and the school routine. So this one is tricky because we have to allow our kids to feel disappointed, right? They want something that they can have. And just like you and I would get disappointed when we don't have what we want, it's okay to feel that feeling. So just help them through what they can do instead, to get out of that frustration or that disappointment.
Cool. Well, that's it for today. That's all we got.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye.